Hey guys, by popular request, I am showing you how I lit up my JOOLA 16mm Scorpeus. Of course, Collin signature. I have played around with the different weight distributions. Had to really trial and error this one because we had a completely different setup in terms of where the foam is placed in the paddle, but I'm going to share with you how I set up my paddle. So the major difference, as I mentioned, is there is a foam insert right around this area on the bottom corners. That was a big addition to the Pro 4. So because of that, it stabilizes this area of the paddle face more than in past generations. So what I did is I moved up my lead tape just a bit, where normally I would start it down here, but since I have that added stability already from the foam, I'm going to start my lead tape right about there. So I've already cut my lead tape. This is approximately 4 inches, maybe a little bit less. I'm going to peel that off, and I like to start it just below this solid yellow line. So you see the striped lines here. This is simply where the foam inside the paddle ends, so where I want to start adding some stability. And this is just a standard 1/2 inch wide lead tape. So you try to get that to adhere, smooth out any wrinkles. I'm going to repeat the process on the other side. So fortunately we have this handy solid yellow line. Gives you a pretty good idea of where I started on the other side, so I don't really have to line it up. So again, just below the solid yellow. So you can see approximately 4-inch strip, 1/2 inch wide, starting just about the striped lines there. So it now ends more or less towards where the sweet spot starts on the paddle face. I found through trial and error that I wanted a little bit more plow through the ball, but I didn't want to take a 1/2 inch strip all the way up because it really tends to drive the swing weight up. The more mass you put towards the end, obviously, the harder it is going to get it through the air quickly. So what I did instead is I simply cut this in half, so you can see. Just a 1/2 inch strip that's been cut in half. So now it's a 1/4 inch wide that is, and this is probably 2.5 inches. That is going to go directly above the strip that I've already put on the paddle. So this, I feel like, gives me that little bit more mass through the ball. So something like a drive counter where you need a little bit more stability on this area of the paddle. You have the foam insert at the top of the paddle here in this U shape within the paddle, but I find that I like just a little bit more plow through in this particular area. So in order to line it up, it's kind of nice. You have the yellow line there for the 1/4 inch strip. Not that it has to be perfectly exact, but it does help a little bit to make sure that it is centered. And then again, I'm ending more or less where these striped lines begin on this edge guard. So it's kind of a nice reference point. I don't know that JOOLA did that on purpose, but definitely a useful marker. So I'm making sure that it's wrinkle free. And I'm putting it just above where that other lead strip ended. And you might say, well, this isn't very much lead. Can you even really feel this? Surprisingly, yes. Just based on where you distribute it, you will feel a little bit more stability and plow through just by adding this 1/4 inch strip that's about 2.5 inches long. At least I do. So pretty simple setup. You can see I've moved my lead tape distribution up further than I used to have it for my 3S in previous generations. And again, that's because of the foam inserts down in this area that already provide the stability that I'm looking for in this area of the paddle face. This is for overall stability while still maintaining enough maneuverability by not putting the 1/2 inch strip all the way to the top. So you can see I have a kitchen scale here, pretty simple, but I always like to weigh my paddles to make sure that they didn't come out of the box overly heavy, overly light. Usually they're pretty standard, but this one came out of the box around 8.4, so probably slightly heavier than average for this Pro 4. And if we put it on the scale after putting on the lead tape, we got this up to 8.6 ounces or 245 grams. So that's more or less where I like to land my total weight. So 8.6 with this particular shape, I feel is still quite maneuverable, especially because I didn't add the 1/2 inch strip much higher than halfway. So you have the maneuverability, but at the same time, enough mass to get through the ball. I try not to go higher than 8.6. I tend to feel a little bit of hands speed loss at that point, but definitely where I like to end up, 8.5, 8.6. And there you have how I set up my Collin John signature JOOLA Scorpeus 16mm.